Hello and welcome to the NewsX Sunday Guardian Roundtable. Well, the Bihar results are out, and what a verdict. I mean, even the exit polls had not predicted this kind of sweep, this kind of win, especially for Nitish Kumar, the BJP, of course. So, what does the verdict mean in terms of coalition politics, in terms of opposition politics? I think that really is our focus now, because where is the opposition going? What about the Congress? It's just decimated. Regional parties have overtaken it. What about Tejasvi Yadav? What about the India Alliance? These are the big ticket questions. And of course, what really happened? What swung the vote? To answer that, I have a panel of experts with me today on the show. I have Yashwant Deshmukh, founder and of Sea Voter and psephologist. I have Sandeep Ghosh, columnist and a political analyst. Anshul Avijit, a very brave soul to join us today, national spokesperson for the Congress Party. And Dilip Cherian, brand guru, someone who knows what makes a brand. But today, Dilip, we're going to be talking about what breaks a brand, really. So I'll start with you, Yashwanji. What happened? Did you expect this, and what swung the ticket, especially for Nitish? What kind of a vote was it?
I mean, the honest answer is yes, I was expecting that. I mean, and that's not because what we were discussing about the female turnout and the connection of Nitish Kumar with female voters and other thing. But it was I mean, things which were like I was sensing like if without any emotional connect, a scheme for female can deliver something for Eknath Shinde, if something can be delivered for Hemant Soren, for something which can be delivered for even Shivraj Singh Chauhan, with emotional connect, there is no way it wouldn't have delivered for Nitish Kumar. Yes, there was few X factors out there. There was a sense of fatigue, no doubt, but we always mentioned that this is not a sense of anger. Sense of fatigue and sense of anger are two different things. There was immense respect for Nitish Kumar, and I always maintained that the moment you, even with the X factor of Prashant Kishore, the moment you take that name away and ask a bipolar question, then Nitish Kumar's lead over Tejasvi Yadav was very clear. It was only in the verbatim, top of the mind recall question that where Tejasvi was getting a lead over Nitish Kumar. So all in all, it came down to only one thing, that was on the female turnout. Whether or not the females are, and we did talk about this, that if females come out more, Nitish Kumar, if males come out more, it is going to be Tejasvi. And
You
our
did.
poll yesterday, when we waited to the actual results, that's what the right scientific thing to do. You post poll data, you wait it to the actual result, and that is where your demographics of your file match the actual result of the election commission's data, and then you know who has voted where and whom. So among the males, and this I can share with you now, among the males the lead was only about 2% for the NDA, so it was as tight as it can
Women
be.
vote.
So I do not blame the reporters on the ground and others who generally end up talking to males and getting a kind of a feedback or an assessment that, oh, it's too tight to call, it's too close to call. I don't even blame the pollsters who might have ended up talking only to male voters more, that it is too tight to call and too. But among the females, hold your breath. The gap or the lead of NDA or Nitish Kumar over Tejasvi was 18%. 1 8.
My God.
18%. I don't think in my own almost 3 decades of professional life as a poster, I have seen that kind of a huge gender gap in terms of voting. And that is where, when we are looking at the data, I was like, it just cannot be one way. If the women with this kind of gap actually come out in equal number or surpass the turnout of the male, then it is going to be one-way traffic. And this is why I was mentioning 2010 all over again and again, that if it goes that way, it just cannot remain at the conventional side of the sweeps, that kind of thing. So honestly, I wasn't surprised.
Hmm.
That didn't happen to me, at least. But
Good.
I was surprised at the sheer audacity, I would say, of the female voters in Bihar, going, because 18% gap means they have gone against the wish of their families or against
Hmm.
the trend of their families, against where their traditional way of voting of their entire community is. And by the way, the deviation and the trend, Priya, is very much visible even among Yadav females and even among Muslim females. Yes, it is not up to that extent, but when you compare male and female Muslim, there is a clear cut deviation. When you look at the male and female Yadav voters, there is a clear cut deviation, and the extent of deviation is like almost 10 to 20%. And
Hmm.
that tells you that Bihar women have finally smashed out, crashed out the age old caste
Patriarchy.
and these equations. And this is why I mentioned to you this is going to be a watershed election in that term if that happens. Because imagine if Bihari women can do that, every other state women in every other state, they will find it much easier to do that. So we are entering a phase now where Bihar has started this kind of cascading effect. I'm not discussing Das Hazari and the impact of that thing. I mean, that's another debate. I'm sure the others will weigh in as well. I'm purely looking at from the perspective of the arrival of the definitive female vote bank in India. Every politician and every political party worth the salt will have to now go back to their drawing board and think aloud that old equations are not going to work. This is a new vote bank where generational policy matters more than an instant dole out, you know, because as we discussed, the
Nitish.
girl who got the bicycle 20 years back is a mother of two and a housemaker and an entrepreneur now. That kind of generational policy that impacts Mahila and Yuva both. So the politicians will be forced upon now to think on those lines. I hope they do. And second thing, imagine the transition we are going to look into next 5 years,
Hmm.
and we are going to witness that. Number one, census, which will automatically give us the idea of the reducing gender gap and the larger, better female literacy. Number two, delimitation based on that census. Number three, 33% reservation kicking in for the women. Then we are talking about not just the larger female participation on the ground, but a female leadership coming in. And that is something which I actually wanted to talk today. I've learned from Dilip how prepared are these political apparatus to basically provide that 33% leadership. I won't call reservation, but how much groundwork have they actually done? I actually do not see anybody thinking on that ground, as if सबने बोल दिया है कि हम करेंगे, किसी ने ये नहीं सोचा है अभी तक कि कैसे करेंगे. How will you give the tickets, how will you provide that leadership, fill up the vacuum? I think still the political parties are in a patriarchal mindset. They are still in that time and line where they think कि सरपंच पति वाली line पे we will figure out the female members of the sitting MPs and MLAs.
Hmm.
But the way the Bihari voters have voted, Priya, I do not think that India में अब सरपंच पति वाला concept ज़्यादा चलने वाला है. I refuse to believe that.
Wow, that's in fact that's a very insightful opening statement. But Dilip, what Ashwanji said that there is now a generational policy matters, but those also matter. We saw with Shivraj Singh Chauhan, he also mentioned immediately three tranches already in. So when the women went to vote, they already had just on election eve. You announced these. Prashant Kishore has called them bribes, and I do tend to agree with him actually. And the problem is every political party will now do this.
I think that Yashwant's point is very powerful. And, the Bihar election, as he is saying, is only a very clear indication of the power that is being unleashed and how it is being unleashed. Uh, as he said, there is a generational item to it, and there is a completely, immediacy to the kind of dole distribution which happens. So you are going to see the impact on politics of that. But what Bihar's big message to me is, I think, resilience, the ability to stay the course. Nitish, ill as he is or unwell as he may be rumored to be, has managed to survive the huge anti-incumbency, which always comes in. Uh, Yashwant is making a fine distinction, but I think that being able to surmount that is a big political imagery lesson, because he has not got his image tarnished over this period in any substantial way. There have been attacks, everybody goes at it, but he has been able to show resilience. And survival in Bihar is also going to be about resilience. Unless Tejasvi stays the course, uh, I'm sure that there'll be a segment of this which is going to be devoted to the debacle of PK. But staying the course is also one more lesson for opposition parties, and which emerges out of Bihar, that unless you may not strike anything in the first round, but if you want to be if you work out the right combinations and you empower the right women, and you
Hmm.
also look for the trends that are for the future, the future of census and the future of delimitation being only two of them. There are many such trends which are already in place, and the fact that they've emerged so strongly in Bihar is going to be a lesson for all parties. If one looks at the BJP, which emerged really strong, and one looks at what is happening in Delhi under a chief minister who seems to be more on the Sarpanch model than on a real women empowerment model. There are lessons for everybody, either side of the aisle. I'll stop here for now.
Thank you. Sandeep, Anshul, I'll come to you last because I'm sure Sandeep will have a comment for you to react to. Fate of the opposition party, Sandeep, where do you see the opposition going?
Yeah, I think, Priya, I'll definitely dwell on that. But I think Jaswant has kind of thrown all of us a little bit on a very, very philosophical and reflective mode. And so I think only the generational point he's making, I think, is something for all of us to take away. And I was reflecting on that, Priya, that if you talk about the generational thing, that's also something which is paying off for Mamata Banerjee in West Bengal. We'll
Good
see it
point.
because she has been giving this kind of dole to sometimes people very disparagingly talk about the maids and the house workers and all that. But, they then do feel because they need that money. They are the people who ultimately run the household in these difficult times. When they get the money, I think that sense of indebtedness, whether saying Didi or that comes in. Even the Mamaji image of Shivraj, you are looking at only the three tranches, but he has also been doing it on a generational basis. I think that makes a point. Some of us were saying that, today's youth voters, which they're talking, quote unquote, Gen Z has become fashionable. They don't have any memories of the Jungle Raj. The women have. Even if they were kids, they know what it was at that point in time. So some of them, so those are the connects with Nitish had. I think this is a very, very insightful, powerful message, which should not be lost on anybody, depending on whichever side of the aisle they're in. The rest of it is a black swan thing, and yeah, I don't want to get into it. If you look at the normal numbers, I have some explanation how Nitish's vote bank was preserved by the BJP. BJP helped in keeping that, also by the induction of LJP into the whole scene, so that the anti-incumbency thing didn't move across to RJD. So they really, BJP knew they needed Nitish. Nitish needed BJP's organization. I think they all worked as a machine, and that's the normal part of it. But when you come to the opposition, I am extremely, extremely worried. First of all, like all, I suppose, right-thinking people, we all feel that we do need an opposition in this country. It's not a healthy sign for a democracy in the state or anywhere else when you have an opposition which is decimated or which is hardly present. And whichever state you also look at it, you realize that West Bengal or anywhere else without. So we all need an opposition. And if today's opposition is unable to get its act together, then that's a matter of worry. And that's where I have, it's more than worry, because it seems the opposition, especially the so-called national opposition, they have reconciled to the fact that they can't win elections. And then since they can't win elections, that's why they've abandoned, even in their setup, which we have discussed earlier, they're no longer talking of the leaders, no longer talking of grassroots workers, nobody. They think they can win the elections by some smart, maneuvers and moves at this. And so they are going that route of vote chori, or trying to look at the reaction. One would have expected some degree of humility from yesterday to today after losing this, or introspection or something. But from day one, you're starting to say, and you've unleashed the entire IT brigade. Sometimes with some stupid, statistics and analysis giving Tejasvi got so many lakhs of votes, BJP got so many lakhs of votes, so how come Tejasvi's number is lower than all kind of thing. They have just
Okay.
somebody sitting in Germany saying, so they are into that conspiracy mode because they have realized that we can't win elections in a normal way. So wreck the credibility of the system, try to wreck the institution, raise, and they think that probably that kind of an uprising is indeed a possibility. And that's why this
Okay.
reference to Bangladesh, Nepal, everything is happening. And no, that's a very, very dangerous path we are going down on. And I think all right thinking people should worry about that. I've got nothing against if this election had gone position and they fought and the swing was there. But if it is not, and then this is the reaction,
The
then
issues to get. Yeah, let me quickly get Anshul in also because we also have to take a break. Anshul, the opposition campaign, do you think in retrospect, the issues, especially the Congress raised, did not really gel on the ground?
No, Priya, I don't think that is the point. I mean, we tend to think that sometimes issues which are raised in Bihar have a linear connection with the electoral outcomes. That's not how it works. I mean, Bihar works through filters of many things, including caste, which is an extremely strong one. Now, gender has been brought into the equation. That point needs to be discussed because while I am astonished, and as we all want gender equity, and if it's entering and Bihar is leading the way, as Yashwant said, that's quite astonishing. I'll have to delve more into this. I'm not quite sure about it, but that has to be seen. I think it's an enormous setback to the Congress party. We feel. I mean, I was devastated when I saw the result. I always knew it's going to be a really challenging result. I don't think issues matter as much. How can issues matter when there is economic doom in Bihar? I mean, nobody can say that I voted for the NDA because I'm so jobless and I'm so happy with my situation because there's no industry, because the household savings are at the lowest, because I have to go to another state to work where I have to face gender discrimination possibly and typecasting and send a little money back home. I don't think these are the reasons why people vote for the NDA. There are
But
different reasons.
yet they voted.
No, so I'll tell you why. I have many ideas about why they have voted for the NDA. I think there has been a Newtonian reaction to the 10,000, the 10,000 scheme. It's exactly reaction, action and reaction. And Bihar to me is very fickle. It's not a state that is consistent. It defies explanation. That's why pollsters always get it wrong. People who've been in power and have been in grassroots root politics can't get it right. They don't know what the voter is thinking. Trust me, I've seen Bihar elections from the 1980s onwards. Every single Lok Sabha election, quite in the midst of it, fought one myself, and quite a few assembly elections. You just can't predict it. You don't know where it's going. Things change by the minute.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think this is the reason why I have the sense of Nitish Kumar and women and providing cycles and all, but ultimately the girls are going to grow up. The cycle will move down to scooters and two-wheelers and higher education. The
But
state of higher education is devastated in Bihar.
okay,
I
I'm going
told
to
you all
come.
the reasons. Yeah. So
Sorry to cut you short, but I have to
yeah.
take a break and we'll come back and discuss this more. But after a very quick break. Hello and welcome back to the roundtable. We are discussing the very astonishing Bihar result. And Yashwanji, before the break, you really gave us some good data on the women vote that really swung it. What the brands that didn't make it? Can we talk about Prashant Kishore? Can we also talk about Rahul Gandhi and the Congress?
Yeah, of course, we track Prashant Kishore's journey from 1-2% to almost 20% plus in the traction of the, as a brand. But we always question whether that will convert into votes and whether those votes will convert into seats. Because Bihar, you see, there was no anger against Nitish Kumar.
Hmm.
So you create a brand to fill up a vacuum, but unfortunately, at this point of time, there was no vacuum as such. That's what my reading is, and also the fact that he attracted the youngsters, the migrant voters, and people who were forward looking on an agenda of change. Now, I also realized and I did report that 7 out of 10 of his supporters were coming from the basically NDA BJP, uh, m- side of line. And the moment I asked them, if not Prashant Kishore, who, they went back to Nitish Kumar's name. At no
Okay.
point of time they were looking for a change, but they were looking for an upgrade. They were not looking a change for a downgrade of sorts. For their perspective,
That's
I
very
need change,
interesting. Huh.
but the change has to be on the better side, not on the other side. That's what their mind was thinking like. And that is where, Priya, I thought that if this goes down to bipolarization like Uttar Pradesh, where a leader like Mayawati could not sustain that onslaught of bipolarization and she was wiped out, then they would stand no chance for Prashant Kishore. He stood a chance only and only if Nitish Kumar would have kind of gone completely out of race, saying that I am not contesting, and there would have been a vacuum next who kind of thing. Or he
Hmm.
would have gone where Tejasvi would not have been that aggressive, where the fear of RJD coming back would not have counterpolarized those voters to go back and take a U-turn and go back to the NDA. So I think that's where, but I will always maintain that this probably is not his election. Probably, if he continues to stick around, next one might be his to make an impact like that, because he did create a buzz. He
He
did
did.
create a narrative for everybody to talk about. So, and for somebody who doesn't have a caste base, as because he is caste agnostic as far as
Hmm.
politics is concerned, for somebody who doesn't have a cinematic legacy of being from Bollywood, Tollywood, Collywood, or somebody who doesn't have any andolan to as a fountainhead to come on, like a Jayaprakash Andolan or Anna Andolan. He came as a rank outsider with no such legacy, no such base, and is still able to create, using the new technology, using the youth, create a buzz and narrative, and that way forced all of us to take notice and start talking about it. That itself, I would say, is a great success. Now, he must have been heartbroken. Probably, yes.
Hmm.
But if I was to advise him, I would tell Prashant, this probably is not your election, but please stick around. If you stick around, 5 years down the lane, you will have a say. You will have a place to go back to and say that, okay, I am around and I need your vote again. So sticking is very important. I hope he doesn't. He's not that heartbroken that he just leaves Bihar and goes some back to his whatever he was trying to do.
Um, you know, Prashant, having been advisor to many campaigns, probably understands that he has always gone for successful campaigns, but I think that he will have to stay the course. As I said, the only success in Bihar will come from persistence and being able to
Absolutely.
stay the course. The Nitish, the minor parties issue. Uh, we need to look at the rise and rise of Paswan, because he has really come through as the
Absolutely.
uh, big and most relevant story in the Bihar elections this time. And the way he has managed to uh, add to his father's legacy is something that other so-called heirs must take into account, because it is possible to do that along with the support of a very supportive BJP. In fact, if rumor has it, he got support from the very top, despite a lot of maneuvering to try and contain him, as it were. I think that has worked very well. So he's now no longer in the realm of a minor party. It is some other national parties which have achieved that distinction.
Well, in
Yeah,
fact,
I
I
agree.
like the.
Yeah. I was just trying to add up to Dilip's point, Priya, that,
Please do.
I think what also worked for Chirag, that looking from a distance, I think he didn't fear from failure. Going all alone when his uncle, kind of stole his party and symbol, going with the new symbol, and then going that for that campaign 5 years back, where he actually went on and got about 4 or 5.5%, almost like 6% votes. And that
Yes.
is where votes are important and critical to understand that, okay, I got this much of my base, and this is where I will negotiate. And once he has that multiplier effect of being on the right side of the platform, or on that combination, that 5.5% was good enough for him to negotiate 29 seats and convert with the rest of the thing. So yeah, I mean, things to learn. I think Chirag played really well. I think he deserves kudos for that. Yeah.
Fair enough. In fact, do you see now, we keep saying post Nitish era, Sandeep, is Chirag, the battle is between Chirag and Tejasvi, but Chirag seems to be, miles ahead, at least after this election. Sandeep?
Yeah, I think Chirag not only stayed the course as far as the elections are concerned, he stayed the course with Modi. He
Important.
right in the beginning that, I am his whatever, not Hanuman or something, and he stayed the course with him, and that's why he got blessed. And a lot of the things about his rise and rise, if you were to explain in this election, was certainly with Modi's blessings. But you will find, therefore, this younger generation are the people who will start, who have to, self-made kind of people. Chirag no longer has his dad to support, and
Okay.
he will find them making the.
Mm.
Priya, on being on a contrarian note, I don't give too much to this migrant voter theory. Because first of all, this migration takes few generations to happen, both going out and coming in. If you
Mm.
really change things, people will not leave the Gulf and come back to Kerala. So I give the example of Kerala with Malayalis who went out to work. They
Mm.
also face a lot of hostile situation in the Gulf, etc. But and they're at home. They continued voting for the LDF or the UDF, which was also a very, very
Okay.
heavy party. So here in Bihar also, today the people who are going out to work, I'll
Ah.
take a minute, they don't see a
Yeah.
great prospect coming back. Even if they're working as laborers or they work
Mm.
in a Tirupur factory, they know their earning is much more than what, even if the conditions change, what they could earn at home. I told in your program, I don't know, when I was living in Coimbatore, I find plane loads of workers from there coming back, going back home on planes. I said, like, how do you afford a plane? He says, by going by train, I'll be spending 3 days, and the amount of money I earn here in 3 days, that more than pays for my airfare
This.
home.
Okay. Yeah. So that's a good, yeah. I'm cutting you short because we're totally out of time. And I do want Anshul to quickly come in on this Gen Next point of view. Also, the battle post Nitish, Tejasvi, Chirag, and perhaps Prashant Kishore, if, Yashwant thinks that there is another election in him for sure. That's what he advised him also in our last election show.
No, no, I mean, the Gen X, Bihar, let me put it brutally, still Priya votes on caste lines. I'll be delighted to be proved wrong. If there are castes in different categories that have emerged, and many people, Yashwant is saying that women has emerged as that in different category, I'll be really happy. I'll be delighted. I'm not sure this has happened in my experience at all. In fact, this newer I've spoken to many people in hostels. Patna University divided, the hostels are divided on caste lines. If anything, the Gen X is more caste identity conscious than previous generations. In fact, in my father's generation, the 60s, 70s, they were less so. So it's getting, identity politics is getting concretized. There is a positive to it, because then you can argue that marginal groups are getting more power. Caste groups that were earlier neglected are getting more say, more voice, more recognition. But then you can also say that it concretizes the idea of identity, and then we're not heading towards a casteless society, which was our aim during independence. So I'm not sure about that. A quick word about PK, though. He's an interesting figure. He came on the back of huge amount of money, but a couple of things that he said were astonishing, and that led to his, I think, ultimate demise. I mean, he almost seems anti-politics. when he says that, listen, 50, if I win, 40% of my MLAs will, are easily tradable. They can go to any other side. He still sees politics as transactional and with a high degree of cynicism. That's not going to get him anywhere. The other thing was that he said that I've spent 3 years of my life, devoted to Bihar, and I better get that result. Almost Newtonian in a way of the 10,000. I mean, people have spent lives in Bihar without a result. And they still haven't got it. He wants to short circuit the process. This is not the way. I don't see anything. You can have huge money and you will get traction and propaganda. But I don't know, it's been disproportionate. The other thing,
On the
there's so
ground.
much to discuss about.
Yeah, no, in fact, I will have to get you all back. I'm sorry
Yeah.
we are out of time, but
Yeah.
very good insights from all of you. Thank you so much for this show. Thanks.
Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.